And I hear all these incredible stories about when it worked. And oftentimes when it worked most was when something was disrupted, when something was done in such a unique, innovative way. I get students who tell me about when the classroom stepped outside.
FutureCurrent with Dr. Stephen Bean.
Welcome to the FutureCurrent podcast. I'm Lainey Rowell here with Dr. Stephen Bean. Dr. Bean, we had David here today.
David Blair, the Executive Director of Orange County Schools Bright Futures Foundation.
BFF for short,
BFF.
right?
But pretty cool story. I mean, here's a worldwide professional opera singer who changes his career to give back to the community.
Yeah, I love it when someone changes lanes without signaling. It's really interesting, and he has a great story. We're going to hear all about the impact he's having on our community.
Well,
let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
All right, welcome, David. Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you for
Great to
having
have
me.
you, David.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big fan of yours, so.
Oh, the feeling's mutual.
No.
Well, we're going to definitely get into how you two work together.
Yeah.
But first, let's actually start off with this. So, David, kind of tell us what your story is and how you started working to support kids and families in Orange County.
Yeah, I always say I had a really unique pathway to find where I am today. I was a professional opera singer for a good chunk of my life. It's what I thought I would be doing probably forever. It was an exciting part of my my growth and experience, getting to travel the world,
Wow.
performing Carnegie Hall and some of the greatest opera halls in the world. And it was on a flight home from, I believe it was Frankfurt, where I realized I didn't want to be doing this anymore. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. And it wasn't really the lifestyle of somebody who wanted those types of things, had those types of aspirations for their life. So I quickly realized that when I got back, I wanted to make a turn, and I knew entertainment. So I started producing concerts for nonprofits to help raise funds for nonprofits. Got to know Alzheimer's Association, Make-A-Wish Foundation, all these different great nonprofits. Alzheimer's Association ended up recruiting me to do events. And first event was a walk fundraiser. And here I'm thinking, okay, this is different. This is a different type of event. And they had lost their fundraiser at the time. So the person who was out there raising the funds that I was spending putting on a walk fundraiser. And of course, I didn't want it to be a failure. It was my first event. So I said, look, while you're looking for somebody, I will help raise funds. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll try. Wow. Fast forward, it was their first $1 million walk. So they quickly said, we want to switch your role. And so
Wait, did you just say you raised $1 million off a walk?
On a walk fundraiser. Yeah, it was the first one in Orange County.
Are you allowed to say what organization this
it was Alzheimer's Association Orange County chapter. We later disaffiliated.
Incredible.
Alzheimer's Orange County.
Wow.
It was a great time. And I learned so much. Again, I feel like we all learn from the leadership that we serve under as we're growing in our leadership journey. So I learned so much from my CEO there. Ended up then moving on to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Orange Coast, where again I got incredible leadership opportunities and growth and experience through that organization and through that leadership. Learning capital campaigns and even being able to merge other clubs under our organization. It was just an incredible time, and that's where I really became passionate about youth and really understanding how we can better serve alongside our future leaders.
All right. Well, let's not get too far ahead because I'm very curious about this. You were a professional opera singer. Mm-hmm. Let me guess, baritone?
Tenor.
I was going to say that first. Tenor. Wow, great. And you were traveling all around.
Yep.
I mean, you must have loved that limelight.
Yeah, I always say it was exciting until it wasn't. I mean,
well, what made it not exciting? I mean, what was this sense of reality that you said, you know what, this is not it?
The sense of reality was I had realized what I was pursuing was what everyone else told me I was good at, more so than what I myself was passionate about. Was I passionate about singing? Of course I was. Mm-hmm. Did I love that I was classically trained and capable of doing those things? Of course. Did I love the opportunity to go and see the world? Of course I did. But what I realized was I had a constant pulling that my purpose was something else, was bigger, was about more than just me. And then there was, of course, the family element. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have kids.
Yeah. So you don't think you could do that traveling the world?
It's a very hard lifestyle for somebody who wants to get married, have kids, be a good husband and a good father. And I had a girlfriend at the time who I knew wouldn't wait around forever, and luckily she waited long enough. She waited long enough.
Okay, that worked
So
out.
that was
That's
a good
choice.
career switch.
It
then.
was
Yeah.
because and again, I don't like to look in terms of used tos. You know, people say, "Oh, I used to have a convertible," or "I used to," you know, I all these great things that they used to do, and then it's somehow, you know, I drove this really nice car and now I drive a minivan. I used to do this really cool job and now I do this. I think they're all part of you. You know, they are all part of your story. So I'm big on storytelling, and the way I look at it is my opera background was pivotal to the work that I do even today. So I see it all as part of the same.
So
leadership
how
journey.
is it connected?
Well, there's several things. First of all, there's a fake it till you make it element that only entertainers can understand. That really you go into a space and say, I might not have the answers right now, but what I do know is I know how to ask a lot of questions. I know how to look at things with a critical eye and say, well, what if we do it differently? What if we shift? And what if we see things from a different perspective? And then there's also the charisma element. I view myself as a networker and a network builder and a champion for getting people to believe in the work that I do. And nothing better than to have that work be about chartering the next generation of leaders towards a path where they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel like they have autonomy to create and to see something better for themselves.
Where did you train in high school?
Fullerton High School.
Okay.
So I'm a
Orange
product of
So
Orange
yeah, you
County.
are an Orange County native.
I am raising the next generation of Orange
Yes.
County public education as well. My 5.5-year-old son Levi. But Fullerton High School, and it was a really cool time also to be learning arts in that particular school. That school was the first school, to my knowledge, in the nation that was investing in arts education in the way that they were. We had, later became my forever mentor and friend. That school hired a full-time private singing coach that worked with students. Now more and more schools have that, but back when I was going to school there, they had an Academy of the Arts where they were investing in kids in this way, where we were able to have a private singing coach that, you know, for me became the reason why I can sing to this day, and I don't worry that I'm going to develop some kind of common vocal problems that come with singing incorrectly.
For sure.
So you told me before the show started that your parents were missionaries, or they are
Correct.
missionaries.
Are current, yeah.
So what did that have anything to do with your career change?
I wouldn't say so. I think again, I as I say, all of our parts of our lives are tied to where we are and when we are. My parents have instilled in me since a very young age that my job is to leave things better than I found them, and to always do right, and that truly is the definition of integrity, is doing things right, especially when nobody's looking, and again having a purpose that's beyond yourself. And so I think I always saw that there would be something bigger, and it was this pressure that I'd put on myself since a very young age. I had very supportive parents, but I had this overwhelming pressure I'd put on myself that I had to do something that made a difference. And imagine being in early elementary thinking you have to make a difference. It was daunting, and now my adult self sees it far more, and probably could use a few $100,000 in therapy to get over it. But
Well, I think you have turned that into good. And
Yes.
so I'm happy you had that drive so young, and it brought you to this life of service. And, you know, you're from Orange County, and now you serve in Orange County. And so can you talk a little bit, and Dr. Bean, I'm going to ask you some questions too, because What are you doing now that is really helping the families, the kids, the families of Orange County?
Yeah, one of the things I've been able to do just through getting to know families, even in my prior work with Boys and Girls Club, or even on boards I've sat on, is get to know what people's stories that influence their view on education or their view on their on the future, on how they see the future. And I hear all these incredible stories about when it worked. And oftentimes when it worked most was when something was disrupted, when something was done in such a unique, innovative way. I get students who tell me about when the classroom stepped outside and changed the setting, or when the teacher became a fellow peer and the teacher became a guide on the side, or when just you had that I know in your story, the Mr. Geisinger who looked at you and said, I see something that maybe the others don't see, but I know it's there.
Yeah.
And said, I'm going to invest in it. And when I hear those types of stories, I go, that is the missing link for so many kids who don't have a positive education experience. It's because we're not making those stories the commonplace. We're not celebrating them to the same level. So I believe my greatest purpose as a foundation serving all 28 districts here in Orange County is to be that light that helps to guide other kids and helps other kids to know that this is what education looks like when it's done in a way that serves you best. And also to be the listener and being able to say, we can do things differently. Tell me how we can make a change.
Bright Futures Foundation.
Bright Futures Foundation.
You are the executive director.
Yes.
And Dr. Bean, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how the foundation came to be. In fact, if you want to do that right now, and then we can ask David to talk a little bit more about.
Yeah, we listen to a lot of community partners, businesses, nonprofits, and we saw that there was a lot of need. But we also saw that there were organizations that lifted our students through people or programs. And then I started asking questions internally at the Orange County Department of Education. How are we serving our communities in these roles that are in a more nonprofit manner? And it surprised me that we didn't have a foundation, an organizational foundation, and we've been existing for 1889. So part of that triangle in the 531, which is to fund innovative programs, leadership and I thought, had this idea that we'd try to organize and start and fund a foundation that would highlight and support innovative practices across Orange County. So that's how we came to this idea. But we knew that the foundation could not exist without a very strong leader. And that's how we found David. So David, take it from there.
I'm starting to see all the puzzle pieces fit in here.
Yeah.
So, okay, go for it.
Well, and it really was a moment of kismet when I started.
Oh, by the way, it's a fancy word, kismet. What does that mean?
Well, it was fortuitous.
There it is. Okay.
Good fortune. It was exactly.
I'm going to use that word from now on.
And I when you're in a role that you're comfortable in, and things. You're making a difference. It's really hard to make a change. But I'm also a believer that sometimes the greatest impact can be made when you allow a bit of discomfort come your way. And when you're also willing to believe in what the end results of that discomfort is. So I had a lot, Dr. Bean and his team may have felt like they were interviewing me, but I felt like I was really interviewing them.
Yeah.
I had to believe that this was worth a transition, and that this transition meant that we were aligned. And exactly to Dr. Bean's point, where I fell in love with what Orange County Department of Education was building was when I understood that you saw that the solution didn't live in one place.
That's right.
And that when we see that there are great nonprofits out there that are serving some of our greatest needs, that there are educators who are coming up with creative and innovative solutions to very common problems in education. And when we realize that not every kid has the same access to the same resources, I realized this could be a very good relationship,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for that opportunity.
We're incredibly blessed to have David come from was a big
Boys and Girls
Boys
Club.
and Girls Club, where he had a prominent position, and and you must have raised millions of dollars right throughout the years with them to bring him over to be now like an entrepreneur and start a new foundation. He had a lot of faith in that. So what was it that just made that decision that you would jump from a huge organization to then starting?
Yeah. Yeah, my biggest that question has been asked several times. One of the things I've always loved is I've loved building on the vision of great people that I have a great deal of respect and admiration for. The one thing that nobody could beat in this opportunity was that I got to build on my own vision, and that was a really exciting thing to be able to take what you and leadership had agreed that you wanted to see the foundation doing, and then to know that you brought me on because you wanted me to run and to treat it with an entrepreneurial spirit, made it so exciting.
Well, and so much so, you hit the ground running, and we can announce this now. Would you like to talk about the Future Innovation?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Future Innovators Initiative with Hyundai.
Absolutely. So Hyundai is a great community partner. You know, Orange County is blessed to have many big organizations in our community where they've set up their headquarters right here locally, and Hyundai's one of those. Hyundai America has partnered with the Orange County Schools Bright Futures Foundation in this Innovators Initiative. This is $100,000 that is invested in 10 different schools here in Orange County to help in, if we look at the way they've built it is so that schools can look at what would make the greatest impact in these areas of innovation. And we think about, are you talking about STEM kits? Are you talking about 3D printers? A lot of things we say they're just the things, they're just the tools or the vehicles that get us to where we're going. But really it's about the knowledge. It's the spark. And if we can have schools apply for this grant and tell us what that spark's going to look like, we get to go back to partners like Hyundai and say, this is what your investment is doing in the lives of students here locally.
So David, how is it different than, a lot of districts have their own foundation that support their own teachers, administrators, and schools. So how is Bright Futures Foundation different than those?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would tell any foundation that local school foundation that I would hope to be considered a partner in their work. There are many times where I can see collaboration as one of our superpowers, our ability to work alongside a local school foundation to make sure that their needs are being met. But one of the things that through your leadership and through the Orange County Department of Education's investment in the Orange County Schools Bright Futures Foundation was you started from this place of the central belief in the 531 that this was something that you were invested in. And when you were able to bring on a foundation that says, do you share these principles? Do you share these values? Do you share these as important truths that our most vulnerable students deserve these types of opportunities? Is this an area we can partner? The answer is absolutely. So what makes us different is our approach. I also see us as a catalyst for change. I see us as a hybrid partner to solving problems. We're not just the answer is more money. The answer is more grants. The answer is the answer comes after the question. And that's where we're going to be unique, because we don't put the answer before the question. So when we look at problem solving, we're asking the questions. We're asking them to our school officials. We're asking them to our educators. We're asking them to our students and to their families and to community leaders. And when we find out what these these unique challenges are, then we're able to say, where is an innovative solution? Sometimes it's in partnership. It's where we're introducing a partner in our community that is solving these problems that we've identified. Sometimes it's in creating unique abilities for people to use private philanthropy to invest in the work that we're doing in public education. Public funding can sometimes be, I can call it fickle at times, whereas
Sure.
oftentimes the only strings attached to private philanthropy tend to be heartstrings. Where are we most? Where do we care most? Where do we want to see real systemic change? And a foundation like ours gets to say, here's an opportunity for you to invest in what's working and to be a partner alongside our educators. And then finally, it's in investing in innovation. We've got a lot of teachers out there who are solving really creative problems. I got a chance to hear from a friend of mine, a local Orange County school teacher who serves in special education, and they created this coffee shop model I believe you may be familiar with the program. I believe it's with the Fullerton, the Fullerton district. And what they're providing in education is for these young individuals to learn how to run a coffee shop, how to provide a product, and how to serve and sell that product. And that is innovation. That is saying, I'm not just going to treat education as textbook, but I'm going to break outside of that. And I'm going to say, what are you not receiving? What is the best thing I can leave you with? Again, going back to what I've grown up believing, which is that you leave things better than you find them. The best way to do it is sometimes to break it or to reinvent it. And we've got great teachers out there who are doing that. How do we incentivize that? And how do we celebrate that so that other schools, other educators are realizing this is what education looks like when it's done at its best.
And Lainey, that was part of the vision, is that there are many resources out in the community that our districts and our schools aren't aware of. So we really need to connect it, right?
Yeah.
Because, I've said this quite often, no one gets there alone. And so by having this foundation, I hear, David, your vision is to connect those resources to those communities that mostly need it, right?
Yeah, and I love your view of nobody gets there alone. I had a call this morning with a futurist local leader, Jenny Dinnan, who she and her twin sister run a foresights organization, and she put it that that future is a team sport, or that future. Nobody should future alone. And I started thinking about you when she was having this conversation. And I was also thinking about the etymology of the word hope. The etymology of the word hope is it's a wish set far away. So I have a storytelling coach, Jay Golden, who reminded me of that a hope is a wish set far away. And then I think of the Bright Futures Foundation as that light for that path to that wish set far away. There are a lot of reasons why education doesn't look the same for our students. There's a lot of reasons, and some of them they could be socioeconomic, they can be resource-based, they can be because of specific family issues. There's so many reasons why education can look different. Our foundation has to be the light for that path.
So is it fair to say that, as Dr. Bean pointed out, there are districts, there are schools that have foundations, and then you mentioned the collaboration piece. So it's, yes, we want the districts and the school foundation to continue doing their work.
Please.
And, yes, please. And we can also partner and go even further together.
Absolutely. The first question I ask when I talk to some of our foundations is, first, how can I support you? And second, what are you seeing as challenges that are standing in the way of you and your goals? And third, is there anywhere I can just be a cheerleader for you? I don't ever want somebody to see this foundation as a competitive foundation that's looking in to gobble up the work they're doing. We're not. There's trust me, there is plenty of problems to solve out there that we can absolutely do this, can and should do this together, because
Absolutely.
nobody gets there alone.
Absolutely.
And that is the work we're committed to. So, well, can I share a unique story with you? I recently got a chance to sit on a vision session for one of our districts, our school districts, and they brought high schoolers from across the district to come and participate in this vision planning. There were educators, there were school leaders, there were all different types of people there. And on the second day of this 2-day vision planning, the students got up and they did a panel. And they started by introducing themselves and sharing a little bit about where they're headed in their future, what clubs and groups they're a part of in school. And of course, they're all impressive. First young lady, she gets up, she talks about being the head of her ASB, and, she's competing for valedictorian, with somebody else, and that she's going to be going to Berkeley. The room erupts in applause. The next kid, he's top athlete. He's doing all these things. He's also in drama, and he's going to be going into the military. The room erupts in applause. The third kid, doing all these things, a lot of volunteer services, great grades, and he's going to go to community college. The room did not erupt
I knew
in
where
applause.
that was going. Oh no.
And shamefully, I can tell you, I was among the group, and
That's too bad.
chose to not be the sole person applauding.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I look around, probably in judgment, and there's smiles. Everyone's very polite, like, oh,
Yeah.
good for you. And then it moves on, and of course, the applause continues as kids celebrate. When we reconvened as a table, I challenged my table. I said, I'm just curious, did anybody else notice that we did not applaud the young man who was going to go to community college? And everybody had guilt on their face. And they said, I didn't notice it in the moment, but now that you say it, I totally notice it. And they felt guilty. And I asked one of them, who was a vice principal, former vice principal, now works in special education. I asked him, well, what do you think about that? And he said, I often think community college is where you get greater education, because a lot of times those educators, they care so much about their work. They're not hawking their book in higher ed. They really believe in what they're teaching. And I said, wouldn't it have been great if that kid knew that you felt that way?
Yeah.
It reminds me of, we had Ambassador Vasquez on here, and he talked about community college is like the gateway for a lot of kids. And so I appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank
and that's there's a lot of things that we sometimes get a little bit distracted by the traditional, like, this is the only path to go.
Well, and it's about challenging those assumptions, like you'd said. And we look at, my belief is that education is education is education. When we see kids who have found that spark and they know what they want to do, I think it's time to celebrate. I have met students who are going to be the first in their family to graduate from a college, and I couldn't be more proud of those young people who've overcome adversity, have overcome challenges that their family never thought they would see somebody with their last name graduating from a local or a prestigious school in the United States. And then I've met C students who, can't get above that grade level. And I realized this guy's going to be running this company someday, because he's fine. Don't worry about him. And I think both can be true. We can celebrate what it looks like when a student is achieving greater than what these data points might tell us. And we can also celebrate the kid who has the confidence and the self-belief and is working towards something that he believes in. Both can and should be true.
You already answered my last question, which was about what's giving you hope. And it sounds like you have a lot of reason for hope. And you even gave us a whole definition of like what hope could be. And so we'll go ahead and just leave it with, can you tell people how they can stay in touch with you and learn more from you and the work you're doing? Maybe they run a school or a district foundation and they want to explore that collaboration. Like, what's the best way to get in touch?
Well, look, I'm a futurist at heart. I believe that we don't make big change without making, or we don't make big impact without making big change. And I need other people who believe in that work too. And it's easy to say we believe in it, but what's more empowering is when you prove it. So I would love to connect with anyone who believes that education can and should be better, and that it takes all of us as a community to help lift education up in the best and brightest ways. And so people can come visit www.ocschoolsbff.org to learn more about the work that I'm doing. They can get my contact information right there, and I would love to set up a meeting with anyone who would like to learn more about the work we're doing.
Love it. We have to
Fantastic.
acknowledge that BFF is like the best acronym
Totally.
ever, but David, thank you so much for your time, and look forward to sharing this with others.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
David, we really do appreciate all the work you're doing for our kids. So
Thank you for listening to Future Current, a podcast from the Orange County Department of Education. If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow, rate, and review Future Current on your favorite podcast platform. The opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Orange County Department of Education, its leadership, or staff. To learn more about the programs and people shaping the future of Orange County, visit ocde.us.